Today, boys, I have 7 practical tips on how you can significantly improve your sleep. Now, first of all, before we start, you have to understand the value of sleep, right? Because in today's society, so many people look down upon it. Specifically, a lot of us just make fun of people who sleep a lot, or we'd be like trying to beat each other's records. Like, oh, I slept for 4 hours. Oh, I slept for 3 hours today. And people like feel good about it, which is crazy. But you have to understand that sleep is not something that is negotiable. And you do need to leave 9 hours in bed, no matter what. No matter what people tell you, the correct time is 8 hours like asleep and 9 hours in bed. Because if you're 8 hours in bed, you're not getting 8 hours of sleep. And so don't be like everyone else. Don't take pride in your lack of sleep. Don't do what the 99% of the people are doing. Instead, prioritize it. Just like every single thing you prioritize, like the gym, you should prioritize sleep. It's one of the, if not one of the most important habits in self-improvement. So right now I'm gonna tell you 7 practical things that I took personally to make my sleep much, much better. Now, the first thing that you need is a sleep schedule. Now, many people get this wrong because they set a sleep schedule for them and then like they screw up one day and then they just hate themselves for it. You're allowed to make mistakes. You're allowed to, be off in your schedule, but you need to have a target. You need to have a target like 10:30 to 7:30, leaving 9 hours in bed. And so having a target means many days you'll sleep at 11 or you sleep at maybe 11:30. But it doesn't matter. Like everything else, we're gonna make mistakes. It's not gonna be perfect. The goal is to have a sleep schedule so our circadian rhythm is better, right? It's more aligned. Our body is more aligned and knows when we're usually gonna wake up and when we're usually gonna sleep. So you feel more awake specifically when you wake up. And when you get really consistent with your sleep schedule, you'll feel like you get sleepy at a similar time every night. And so that's super important. Make sure you have a sleep schedule, really important for your circadian rhythm. Now, the second way you can improve your sleep is drink chamomile tea 45 minutes before you go to sleep. Now, this is really interesting because I found this recently. Many of you know Iman Gaji. He's like this millionaire guy. He's very, very into like social media agencies and stuff like that, but he's also invests a lot of his money into self-improvement and like his health and sleep. And so one of the things that he did was he invested a lot of money into sleep supplements and everything, for his sleep. And he found that the biggest kind of improvement in his sleep was drinking chamomile tea. Like out of all the expensive things that he invested in, the biggest kind of ROI was chamomile tea. So I learned about this recently, like 1 or 2 weeks ago, because I'm taking his course. It was really, really interesting. And I tried it and I really, really feel much more tired when I take it. So I drink it 45 minutes before I go to sleep, and it really gets you in the flow of things and you get tired. And it could be placebo, but I really think it works because it does calm you down and get you more tired. And that's what we need. We need to be in that really tired state right before we go to sleep. Calm, not anxious, not in our thoughts. That's what we want to be in right before we go to sleep. And then our sleep could be much, much better. Now, of course, for number 3, we're going to talk about technology. You've heard a million times how blue light and, blue light from your phone, from your computer is harmful. So I don't need to drill that anymore. But what you do need is you need something to block that blue light on your phone and on your computer. So both simultaneously. You really can't see blue light a couple hours before you go to sleep. So like 2 hours before you go to sleep, you need to eliminate all that blue light, especially at that time. And so a lot of us maybe have night shift on our iPhones or phones if you have an Android, other phones. But that's not enough. You also need to install some kind of blue light filter or remover on your computer. So a really, really good app for this is Flux. They have it for Mac and Windows. And what you do is you basically tell the app when you go to sleep every day. And so it slowly, very gradually increases that yellow tint, blocking that blue light. And right before you go to sleep, it'll be almost orange. So it's much better than the built-in ones or anything on the market for blue light, like kind of blocking software. So try that on your computer. And on your phone, if you have an iPhone, then turn on night shift. Make sure it turns on, I'd say 2 to 3 hours before you go to sleep. I set mine 3 hours before, but make sure it's on the highest setting. You need to put on the highest setting because it won't make a difference if you make it like a tiny bit more yellowish. And so the reason why we want to block blue light is because when we have blue light or phones at night, it inhibits the release of melatonin. That's the hormone that causes us to be more tired at night, and so we kind of block that release, the natural release of melatonin, when we don't use these blue light blockers and we use our phones right before we go to sleep. So you could use your phone when you go to sleep, but make sure that it has night shift mode, or on your computer you install the Flux app. Now on the topic of blue light blockers, you should get yourself, it's not required, but you should get yourself blue light blocking glasses. And no, I'm not sponsored or anything. This is genuinely something I got recently. So you wear it, I'd say 2 hours before you go to sleep is recommended. So, it doesn't have to be something crazy, but 2 hours before you go to sleep, when you settle down, do your night routine, etc., wear those. Why? Because many times it's not only our phones that inhibit blue light. There's a lot of blue light around us, whether we know it or not. So it's not only our phones, and even our phones, for example, night shift on an iPhone doesn't do the best job at removing blue light. So if you want to be 100% certain that you're not blocking that natural release of melatonin, then do wear blue light glasses 2 hours before you go to sleep. Honestly, really easy to find. I think I got a 3-pack, so I got these as well. They also look pretty stylish. So I might wear these sometimes, but yeah, that would definitely help you remove any kind of source of blue light before you go to sleep. The 5th way that you can significantly improve your sleep is reading fiction books right before you go to sleep. Honestly, try yourself. If you read fiction on your bed, especially laying down, lights closed, then you'll feel really tired. It's almost like a sleep drug. I heard this from many people. They say reading fiction at night is like a sleep drug. So do try it. It does help, especially if you're having really difficult times falling asleep, etc. And on the topic of light as well, make sure that at night you don't have any bright light. So dim your lights or do whatever you can to remove any light, actual really bright light. So sometimes I would leave those 2 lamps in the back and just close everything else. And many times I would just literally just pitch black an hour, 30 minutes before I go to sleep, kind of imitating the natural dark environment. So don't expect to be tired when you literally have light cranked up at night in your room. This may be obvious, but it's very important that you do that as well. So the next tip is on the topic of waking up. I found it really difficult for many months to wake up, and so I would snooze my alarm many times and just do whatever I can to not wake up on time. And so it does happen to many of us, and myself included. I'm really bad with waking up. And so what I used is an app called Alarmy in conjunction with a sleep tracking app. And so Alarmy, what it does is it makes sure that you get out of bed. So you set a mission. So for example, for me, I have to scan a barcode. I don't know if you see it, but there's a barcode on my mouthwash, which is across the room in the bathroom. And so you scan it once and you tell it, okay, this is what you need to scan to stop the super loud alarm noise. And so this, don't get me wrong, is gonna cause you to get out of bed because you can't snooze it. You can set it up that you can't snooze it and it'll just keep ringing until you scan the barcode. So that's what I recommend you do. Scan any product, honestly, that is across the room or far away from you, even downstairs, and you'll find it exceptionally difficult to snooze like we all do. If you snooze, you lose, right? So make sure that you don't snooze. Do this thing and download the Alarmy app. It's gonna really change your life. I know it has mine because just so many times I would snooze in the past, but now this app won't let me snooze. So finally, number 7, you need to cut down your caffeine usage. Caffeine is one of the most widely used drugs in the world. We still consume it and we still obsess over it, but it's also very anxiety inducing. If you have anxious thoughts at night and it's very hard for you to go to sleep, then likely you're taking caffeine in high dosages, or it has to do with your caffeine usage. And so personally myself, I never took coffee, and I don't understand why people feel like they need it for energy. So many people I've heard talk about, okay, they need coffee for their energy, they need it to wake up, they need to stay awake. But it's almost like a catch-22, because if you get rid of that caffeine, you'll be more happier, you'll be more calm, and you'll almost feel much better. And many people don't get it. And I've heard a lot of accounts of people saying that they experienced this switch, right? They had caffeine, it made them more anxious, it made it much more harder for them to sleep, etc. But if you feel reliant on caffeine and you think you need it to be focused, think you need it, then there's some kind of underlying problem, right? Because 99% of the people say they need it to be focused, they need to stay awake. I don't use it. I don't feel any need to drink caffeine, yet I feel focused, I feel full of energy. Likely if you need caffeine to be focused, your sleep is screwed up, something else has screwed up your mental health, something is up, right? That's causing you not to be focused, not to be like in the zone. So stop using drugs, because caffeine is a drug. Stop using it to be focused and to wake up. You don't need it. Take a cold shower, like that's better than caffeine. Plus it doesn't have the crash of caffeine. It has that long-term 2 to 3 hour spike of dopamine. So cold shower is 100 times better than caffeine. So yeah, boys, these are some ways that you can significantly improve your sleep and things I've learned, studied and actually practically applied in my life. Do apply them. I think you'll have a big difference in your sleep. Click the link in the description for the Discord group. We have a bunch of guys on self-improvement. See you, boys.